The journey started with a small group of 4 friends. Their names were Ryan, Jack, Emma, and Lily. They were young, full of energy, and always looking for new adventures. One summer, they decided to travel to a strange place that many people in the city used to whisper about. It was a lonely place in the middle of the sea, known as the Island of Dogs. Nobody lived there, at least not anymore. Some said the island was cursed, while others claimed that wild dogs ruled it. But the friends laughed at those stories. To them, it sounded like the perfect spot for a camping trip, away from noise and people. So, one bright morning, they rented a small boat and started their journey across the ocean. The sea looked peaceful, but the journey was long. Waves splashed against their boat, and the sun burned hot above them. After many hours, they finally saw the outline of the island rising from the water. It looked mysterious, covered with green trees and surrounded by shining white sand. From a distance, it appeared quiet, almost too quiet. When they stepped onto the island, they felt a strange silence in the air. There were no voices, no laughter, and not even the sound of birds. The trees stood tall and still, as if they were watching the new visitors. The friends laughed nervously, telling themselves it was just their imagination. They set their bags on the shore and looked around. Everything seemed calm and peaceful, but deep inside, each of them felt something was wrong. It was as if the island was hiding a secret. Emma pointed at some strange paw marks in the sand, but Ryan quickly said they must belong to some wild animals. They all agreed to explore the place, not knowing that their adventure was about to turn into a nightmare. The friends carried their bags into the jungle, wanting to see more of the mysterious island. At first, they thought it would be fun, but soon they started to notice how strange the place really was. The deeper they walked into the trees, the more silent it became. There was no sound of birds singing, no sound of insects buzzing, and no movement in the branches above. It was almost like the whole island was holding its breath. Emma stopped walking and whispered, "Do you hear that?" The others listened carefully. There was nothing, just the sound of the wind brushing against the trees. Jack laughed nervously and said, "Maybe animals don't like living here." But even he felt uneasy. As they moved further, they saw signs that the island was not completely empty. There were broken branches, large paw prints on the ground, and claw marks on the tree trunks. Lily touched one of the marks and said, "These look fresh." Ryan quickly told her not to worry, saying it was probably some wild dogs, but his voice shook a little. The silence became heavier as the sun began to set. The shadows of the trees grew longer, and the jungle looked darker. They decided to set up a small camp near a clearing. They built a fire, hoping it would give them comfort. But even the fire crackled in an odd way, and its sound felt too loud in the empty silence around them. Suddenly, Emma pointed into the trees. She thought she saw something move, 2 glowing dots, like eyes, watching from the shadows. But when Ryan turned with his flashlight, nothing was there. The friends laughed nervously again, trying to act brave, but inside their hearts were filled with fear. The island was quiet, but it was not empty. Something was there, hiding, waiting, and watching them. The night on the island felt colder than expected. The fire gave some warmth, but it did not chase away the fear inside their hearts. The friends sat close together, trying to talk and laugh, but their voices sounded weak. Every time the firelight flickered, the shadows of the trees looked like tall, dark figures surrounding them. Suddenly, a strange sound broke the silence. It was soft at first, like leaves moving, but then it turned into a low growl. Emma froze and whispered, "Did you hear that?" All of them looked into the darkness, but they saw nothing. Jack picked up a stick and held it like a weapon. Then, from the shadows, small glowing eyes appeared. At first, there were only 2. Then 4. Then 6. Soon, dozens of shining eyes surrounded their camp. The firelight reflected off those eyes, making them look even more frightening. The friends realized that a pack of dogs was watching them. But these were not normal dogs. They were bigger, their fur looked rough, and their teeth shone in the firelight. The dogs did not bark. They only stood in silence, their eyes fixed on the group. The silence was more terrifying than any loud sound. Lily grabbed Ryan's arm tightly and whispered, "They are waiting for something." Suddenly, one of the dogs stepped forward. Its body was strong, and its head was low, ready to attack. The others followed slowly, circling the camp like hunters surrounding prey. Ryan quickly threw a burning piece of wood toward them. The dogs jumped back, but they did not run away. Instead, they growled louder, their voices mixing together like a deep, echoing thunder. The friends realized they were trapped. They could not run into the jungle, and they could not stay in the camp forever. For the first time, they understood why people called this place the Island of Dogs. The fire was burning low, and the friends knew they could not sit there forever. The glowing eyes of the dogs were still watching them from the darkness, waiting for the right moment to attack. Ryan whispered, "We cannot stay here. We need to get back to the boat." Everyone agreed, but none of them knew how dangerous the path would be. They quickly packed their bags, grabbed sticks from the fire, and started moving toward the beach. Their footsteps were soft, but the sound of growling followed them. The dogs were moving too, hidden in the shadows of the trees. Every time the friends turned around, they saw more glowing eyes behind them. The jungle seemed to play tricks on them. The paths twisted and turned, and soon they were unsure if they were going the right way. Jack said, "I remember this tree. Didn't we pass it before?" They realized with horror that they were going in circles. Somehow, no matter which way they turned, the jungle brought them back to the same place. Lily's voice shook as she said, "It's like the island doesn't want us to leave." The others told her to stay calm, but deep inside they all felt the same fear. The howls of the dogs grew louder, echoing through the trees. It sounded as if the whole island was alive with the voices of hunting animals. Suddenly, one of the dogs rushed out of the darkness and attacked. Ryan swung his burning stick, and the dog jumped back, but not before showing its sharp white teeth. More dogs appeared, blocking the path ahead. The friends ran in another direction, but the dogs followed, cutting them off again and again. By the time they reached a clearing, they were exhausted. The boat was nowhere to be seen, and the jungle felt endless. Surrounded by growls and glowing eyes, the friends realized the truth. This island was a trap, and the dogs were its guardians. The friends were tired, scared, and confused. They had been running through the jungle for hours, but every path led them deeper into the island. The howls of the dogs followed them everywhere. Finally, they found an old wooden hut hidden between tall trees. It looked broken and abandoned, but it was their only chance to rest and hide. They rushed inside. The walls were cracked, the roof half fallen, and cobwebs covered the corners. The air smelled of dust and salt. Jack lit a small lantern he had in his bag, and the weak light showed something strange on the walls, symbols, carvings, and drawings. Emma looked closer and gasped. "These are stories," she said. The walls told a tale. Long ago, the island was not empty. People lived here in small villages. They kept dogs with them, hundreds of them, for hunting and protection. But then, something terrible happened. The villagers left the island suddenly, leaving their dogs behind. Without masters, the dogs grew wild and angry. Over the years, they turned into something darker, something unnatural. The carvings showed dogs with glowing eyes and sharp teeth, standing taller than normal. One drawing even showed villagers being attacked by their own animals. Lily whispered, "That means these dogs are not normal. They are cursed." Ryan tried to stay strong. "It's just a story. Don't believe it." But his face turned pale as he read more words scratched into the wood. The last line said, "The island belongs to the dogs. No one can escape." Suddenly, they heard scratching at the door. The sound of claws dragging across the wood filled the hut. The friends froze. The glowing eyes appeared again, shining through the gaps in the broken walls. The pack had found them. The friends now knew the truth about the island's dark history. But knowing the truth didn't make them safe, it only made the danger clearer. The scratching at the door grew louder. The weak wooden walls of the hut shook as the dogs circled around it. Their growls filled the night, echoing like thunder through the jungle. Inside, the friends held their breath, too afraid to move. The fire from Jack's lantern flickered, casting long, shaky shadows on the walls. Suddenly, the door cracked open, and a large black dog pushed its head inside. Its glowing eyes locked on the group, and its sharp teeth shone in the dim light. Ryan shouted, grabbed a piece of wood, and slammed the door shut again. But the dogs outside howled in anger. The sound was so loud that it felt like the whole island was screaming. The friends knew they couldn't hide anymore. "We have to run," Emma cried. They kicked open the back wall of the hut and escaped into the jungle. The night was dark, but the glowing eyes followed them, moving fast between the trees. The dogs barked and growled, their footsteps heavy on the ground as they chased. One by one, the friends stumbled. Jack tripped over a root, and, before Ryan could help him, 2 dogs jumped on him. His screams filled the air, then faded into silence. The others kept running, tears streaming down their faces. Lily gasped, "We can't outrun them." But Ryan shouted back, "Keep moving." They reached another clearing, but the dogs surrounded them quickly, forming a deadly circle. Their bodies moved closer, their teeth shining in the moonlight. The friends swung sticks and stones, fighting with all their strength. The air was filled with growls, screams, and the sound of snapping jaws. It was not a fair fight. The dogs were too many, too strong, too fast. As the pack closed in, Emma whispered, "This is the end." The circle grew tighter, and the friends realized there was no escape. The final attack had begun, and the island of dogs would not let them leave alive. The clearing turned into a battlefield of fear and blood. The pack of dogs attacked with terrifying speed, their glowing eyes shining like fire in the dark. Ryan, Emma, and Lily fought with all their strength, swinging sticks and throwing stones, but the animals were too powerful. The sound of growls and screams filled the night, echoing across the jungle. One by one, the friends began to fall. Emma was pulled down by 2 large dogs. She screamed Ryan's name before her voice was lost forever. Lily tried to drag her away, but another dog leapt from the shadows, knocking her to the ground. Ryan watched in horror as the people he loved most disappeared into the darkness of teeth and fur. His body was weak, his legs shaking, but he forced himself to run. He pushed through branches and thorns, ignoring the cuts on his skin. Behind him, the howls of the dogs grew louder, chasing him like shadows that would never stop. The jungle seemed endless, but at last, Ryan saw the beach. The boat was gone, but broken wooden pieces lay on the sand, left behind by the waves. With trembling hands, he grabbed the wood and tied them together with rope from his bag. It was not a real boat, but it was his only hope. As he pushed it into the water, the dogs reached the edge of the trees. Their glowing eyes watched him with anger, but they did not step onto the sand. Ryan paddled into the ocean, his arms heavy with exhaustion. The island slowly grew smaller behind him. For a moment, he thought he was safe. But then, across the water, he still heard it, the distant, echoing howls of the cursed dogs. The sound followed him into the night, a reminder that the island was alive and hungry. Ryan had survived, but the memory of the island of dogs would haunt him forever. If you enjoyed this scary story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more horror tales. Your support gives me the courage to bring you even darker and scarier stories every week. Turn on the bell icon so you never miss the next nightmare.